Okie dokie. So this is Miss Andrea, and we need to talk about some things going on in homeschool land. So in Georgia, we have this Georgia Promise program that gives money to first-time homeschoolers at marginalized schools. So your child either has to be coming directly out of public school and homeschooling for the first time or going into kindergarten. And then their school that they would automatically end up in would need to be listed as a poor school. And people are starting to get approved for these scholarships. And I'm just gonna read you what's going on. So someone says, are there any other moms who have elected not to apply for the Georgia Promise program who could? I didn't apply and I'm having regrets. I'm not sure of any strings that could be attached by the government. Let me try and do this in order. Someone says, I applied and got it for one kid, but not the other. Anyway, from my perspective, it's really not that great. You can only purchase from certain vendors, and those vendors have taken what should be inexpensive items and jacked the price all the way up. I can't get the curriculum I wanted to use, and there's no reimbursement. They made it sound really good, but the reality is that it's a lot of hoops for not a lot of benefits. It might pay for my daughter a computer, but I'll pay twice what it would have cost on Amazon. And that's if they approve the purchase. Most people aren't getting their purchases approved. So basically they have the site of approved vendors where you can go to spend this voucher money. And I looked into getting listed as a voucher. My homeschool program wouldn't qualify because it is not accredited. I personally can't qualify as a tutor without actually getting a teacher's license. And that would take a semester and almost $10,000. So what happens is, yes, you're getting money to homeschool, but you're losing any free choice. Then they're opening up applications again in September because they're finding that they have more money to give or not as many people have applied. So what else is added? The only additional string is testing every year. Everything else for the home study option is the same as the basic Georgia guidelines for homeschool. In Georgia, normally you would test once every 3 years, and then you would file those tests in your own paperwork so that you are able to look back at the tests and make sure your kids are tracking. Would I like to see kids tested more? Yes, but that's me. For my kids, I'm not going to tell other people what to do. And someone said, was your child in public school last year? That's the only way they could even qualify, right? Keep in mind, you can only order certain things from their approved vendors with the money anyway, which upsets several people. Someone says, we applied and got it. The marketplace does have limited curriculum. The electronics appeared to be purchased through Amazon, so I was able to get him a laptop that was mid-range at Amazon price. That's good news. The marketplace just appears to be an intermediary between us and the provider. I ordered the Honest History Bundle, and the price was the exact same as it was on the website. The marketplace just pays for the items on our behalf. I'm hoping more programs get approval as this grows now. I also write a history curriculum. The thing is, I don't whitewash history, and I don't think my history would pass their checks. I think they would have a problem with history that tells the full history, the full truth. Someone says, I applied and only one of my kids got it. I took my oldest out to homeschool. She only did one semester. Someone says, I didn't even check. The more they give you, the more control they want, because that was the money that would have gone to government schools. Once you agree to accept the Georgia guidelines that all follow no longer apply to you. Just a few from what I've seen. It looks like your kids will have to take a test yearly. We only have to do it every 3 years. You have to turn in reports on your children. We do not. They do that in New York, not Georgia. You will have to have reviews by the school system, and we do not. So they're taking a low reporting homeschool state, throwing money at parents, and then giving them the most stringent rules akin to what's going on in New York. Because maybe I'm reading it wrong, but the government paying for our curriculum isn't worth it. Okay, so that in mind, right? So California started a couple of years ago. In California, they started learning vouchers. They started a learning vouchers program. Families, public charter schools So you're homeschooling, but you can use a public charter school to receive funds for educational expenses, ranging from $2,200 to $3,200 annually, depending on the charter school and grade level. These funds can be used for curriculum, extracurricular activities, and other educational resources. This happened starting in 2022, it looks like. I'm not positive. This week, they passed the bill AB 84, focusing on accountability and oversight of those charter schools, right? Purpose. AB 84 aims to strengthen oversight of charter schools by establishing a new Office of the Education Inspector General with broad audit and investigative powers. Key provisions. Inspector General. The bill proposes an Inspector General appointed by the governor, housed within the Department of Education, with the authority to audit and investigate charter schools and related entities. Funding cuts. It could potentially cut funding for non-classroom based charter schools and increase administrative costs for all charters. So what is a non-classroom charter school? It is kind of umbrella school. It's a homeschool program where the kids learn from home. Do you see what's happening here? They're giving parents money. Parents are thinking, oh, finally we get money to help us homeschool. And now they're making you take the kids out of the home. Interesting. Restrictions and bureaucracy. It may impose more restrictions and create additional bureaucratic processes for charter schools. Impact on new charters. New is the operative word. AB 84 could hinder the creation of new charter schools. Okay. So I go to homeschool conventions for homeschool programs. And 2 years ago, my business partner and I went to such homeschool convention. And I was freaked out because what I saw, because I've been in homeschooling since about 2002, what I saw was an influx of men with money into homeschooling.
Mm-hmm. But like he was just going through the history of homeschooling itself to what we have now, and his timeline was just, I was like, why is he talking? He doesn't know. And so I think that's my whole problem.
Got it.
Because I'm not as OG as it gets. There are people who are in homeschooling 20 years before me. Now, he said homeschooling didn't exist 30 years ago. Not true. Homeschooling existed in the 80s. People went to jail for it, but it existed, right? And so I was like, why is not the smartest person in the room talking? Why am I sitting here and everything you're saying is incorrect?
So I think some of it is that when you're dealing with academia, the shiny and the new, but it seems shiny and the phrase is new, so everything must be new about it. And so
okay.
So I think the point is, though, that they're trying to wrap their heads around what's happening currently in the movement, right, and they don't have that background knowledge.
Well, and here's my problem. There's all these new people going, this is amazing. I can't believe this just happened. And I'm like, this has always been here, sir. And it's like, in these facts. And I'm like, that's incorrect, sir. And they're like, let's get in on it. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. You don't know what you're talking. Go away. And so I do appreciate the excitement of the men with money that are now showing up, but there's a lot of men with money showing up right now, and I'm scared.
There are.
Because what I saw, because I've been in homeschooling since about 2002, what I saw was an influx of men with money into homeschooling. When the business of homeschooling has more or less been on women, but now we're post-COVID, right? And a lot of people have noticed homeschool now. And so I noticed a lot of men taking notes, asking questions. And I went back to that convention this year. Outside of the blatant racism that I saw, I also saw that there were tons of micro schools, almost neighborhood homeschools, like kind of homeschool on every cul-de-sac. And these schools were not independently run. They run by a group of, I'm going to assume, these men who gave money and are doing the marketing for all these tiny schools of maybe 8 to 10 kids, working at people's houses, working out of people's basements. And so they're tied together by these larger corporations of men with money who now want to control homeschooling. This, my friends, is a slippery, slippery. And yeah, you look at what's going on in Georgia, right? This is the first time they're rolling out money, and everyone's saying, oh, I can't just choose where I want to homeschool my kid. I have to buy curriculum through certain links, and I have to choose my homeschool program from the list, right? And we look at what's happening in California, where homeschool programs, some of which opened, or some of which grew specifically to take advantage of this law, are now probably going to shut down because now they have tightened the belt. Thoughts? Until next time.